Her Majesty the Queen has decreed today's episode as completely classified, which means it's for your ears only. So it's time we get on with today's episode of that song from that movie. You don't get anything for a pair.
In this game?
Thank you for joining that song from that movie, the journey through the very best and worst of movie songs. I am your new Bond girl host, Dietrich, and we're joined by the man who will bring you an ice cream after you put your clothes back on, Alex.
As long as the ice cream is a Magnum.
It's good. It's a bold choice, actually. I think it doesn't melt as quick, Magnums.
Yeah. Keeps it encased in chocolate. Safe.
Yeah. Especially with the weather recently.
Well, did you see recently it was announced as like the most popular ice lolly in the UK? It's like, it's not an ice lolly, it's a chalk ice.
Yeah, it's a chalk ice on a stick. We established this last time.
An upper class chalk ice.
And we're also joined by the man who's heading straight for your heart, Ben.
I prefer the ice cream, to be honest.
What are you doing when you get to the heart, then?
Well, it depends what the operation is. Depends what you've come in for. I don't really know. Not really my field of specialty, I must admit.
I like how you sort of decided that it was like
medical.
Like you were a doctor, like you were a medical.
No romantic involvement whatsoever.
Going for your heart to take it and give it to someone to transplant.
Yeah, who deserves it?
How are we all today? Unless you want to do Ben's weather report first.
It's been too hot. I must say, it's definitely been too hot.
Yes, it has.
I actually had to sleep on the sofa. It was just shocking.
And it was hot as well.
Yeah. It might have actually melted a Magnum.
Two things are unrelated.
I'm more of a knobbly bubbly man myself.
Not a fab.
As a kid, I was a big fan of the Fab. Although I was a big fan of 2/3 of the Fab. Once it got to the ice lolly, it's pointless.
It feels like it needs to be the other way around.
Yeah, you're not looking forward to anything.
The chocolate bit's last.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like eating your Yorkshire pudding first on a Sunday dinner. You've wasted it now.
You have to build up to it.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed a mint feast, personally. Do you remember feasts?
Oh, they were good. Yeah.
I hate mint chocolate. I hate mint ice cream.
You're
Yeah, I just feel like
You're
I don't want to be refreshed by my sweets.
It's not even worth a debate, Ben. You're just wrong in this category.
Has anyone actually seen any good movies recently?
I watched The Matrix.
So,
See,
yes.
That's good.
Yeah, it's been years since I've seen it.
It still holds up. It's still a really good film. Followed it up with a couple of the Animatrix shots as well, which also do hold up.
Yeah, I love those.
They did a digitally remastered version of The Matrix last year or something for its anniversary.
Yeah, like a 4K restoration type thing.
Yeah.
Well, annoyingly, I bought the Blu-ray box set only to then find out that it has an audio problem, like an audio syncing problem. So we're watching the first Matrix film, and you get about 45 minutes into the film, and you start to go, the audio's not quite synced up here. And by the end of it, it's like a good 30 seconds out.
It's terrible.
Trinage is going, stop trying to hit me.
It's so out of sync, she does here.
I've never seen anyone move that quickly. You spoke faster than your lips could move.
That's why you only buy the Criterion release.
Well, luckily, it had a second English audio option for Dolby True Atmos, and suddenly that fixed the problem. If anyone out there is thinking of buying the Matrix Blu-ray, the non-4K version, then my recommendation is to change the audio settings before you start.
I love the idea that someone's in Computer Exchange or Tesco, literally listening to this podcast in their ear. They're just pulling it off the shelf and then slowly pushing it back.
Did you watch any films?
You know what? I actually don't think I have.
What?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I think I'm watching a lot of Only Fools and Horses.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just that. For a reason.
You're not one of the suckers that have paid for BritBox, are you?
Moving on.
We did watch How to Build a Girl. It's the film adaptation of that Caitlin Moran book. It was okay. I wouldn't have said it was great. What's the name of the lead actress? She's the lady from Booksmart, and she was in Ladybird.
Beanie Feldstein?
Yes, I think she Jonah Hill's sister, possibly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
But she was doing a Birmingham accent. And it's kind of off-putting. Like, she's good in the film, but the accent is really off-putting. Because sometimes she kind of gets it, but sometimes she's just way off. It's a bit like if either of you have seen Anne Hathaway do a Leeds accent in One Day.
Yes, in fact, my wife was watching that film last week, and we both pinpointed it. I like Keira Knightley doing a British accent, because even though she is English, it sounds like she's American doing an English accent.
It's quite a skill.
I watched. Oh no, I did watch The Imitation Game, so I have watched the film, and it just sounds like a really terrible British accent done by an American.
Wait, you could say she was losing the imitation game.
Yes.
Should we talk about James Bond?
So today's episode, we are looking at the James Bond songs of the 1980s. But much like last time, before we go into the 80s, let's look at 70s again. We've got the results of the polls. In semi-final 1, unsurprisingly, Live and Let Die dominated.
Completely expected.
Second place was Diamonds Are Forever, so there were your two finalists going through from that semi-final. Unsurprisingly, The Man with the Golden Gun was eliminated with its single vote from Lulu. In the second semi-final, another landslide. This time, Nobody Does It Better over Moonraker. 85% of the vote.
Also expected.
Is that the most dominant poll so far?
Yeah, by far.
Yeah.
Of any of them, even like the movie or song ones we do each week.
85%.
And in the final, no shock there, Live and Let Die won again, 56% of the vote. Second place was Nobody Does It Better with 25% of the vote. And then bringing up the rear, Diamonds Are Forever with 19%.
That's quite dominant again, isn't it?
Yeah,
56%.
Yeah, 1% less dominant than Goldfinger was the decade before.
That was going to be my next question, so yeah, thank you.
Is that a sign of the final poll, maybe?
Okay, so that's the 70s rounded out, so now let's move on to the 80s. We'll go in the same order as last time, so Alex, over to you.
Yes, so the year is 1981, so we're quite early on in the 80s. The film is For Your Eyes Only, and it's the 12th Eon Bond film, and it's Roger Moore's 5th film. It was the directorial debut of John Glenn, who I think would go on to direct quite a few of the 80s films. So, in terms of the plot, after the sci-fi-inspired Moonraker, the producers wanted to return to sort of the earlier... Well, this is what they said. They said they wanted to return to sort of the grittier, earlier Bonds, but I was struggling to think of what those were.
Well, anything pre-Roger Moore, I guess, could be considered gritty.
Yeah, but we had this conversation last time, didn't we, about Live and Let Die, because they were like, we were trying to make it more realistic. And it seems like they were trying to do that again with this one. But, I mean, in terms of the actual plot, James Bond attempts to locate a missile command system. It doesn't sound immediately that realistic, does it? And it says he's entangled in a web of deception spun by a rival Greek businesswoman.
Wait, his rival, is he invested in Greek?
Yeah, well, I can't remember I haven't seen this film for a very long time, so I can't remember actually how it plays out. But that was the description that I found as of the synopsis. It made it imply that she was a rival to him. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what capacity. I don't know what investments he has in Greece. So that's the film.
It's like a gritty financial drama, like Margin Call.
So the song itself is also called For Your Eyes Only. And it was written by Bill Conti, who is actually a TSFTM alumni. Do you guys remember from which song?
Yep.
Rocky.
Gonna fly now. Exactly. He also wrote quite a few other songs, from films, because I think we mentioned this one in the Rocky episode.
Yeah, I think one from the Italian Job as well.
That's right, yeah. It was the lyrics written by Mike Leeson, and it's performed by Sheena Easton. So what do you guys think of this song?
I mean, I think this might be a theme of the 80s, but... It's not particularly memorable. I don't know, it doesn't feel like it does anything new. You hope with the 80s something comes along that's a bit more dazzling. And it's just it feels very samey, very safe, and just a bit blah.
Yeah, I echo the sentiments. I would say this song, more than any other song we've done so far with the Bond ones, and maybe even coming forward, this is the one that feels most likely that your grandma and granddad would go, oh, I'm just going to have a little dance to this one.
A little bit of a boogie. This is my kind of tempo.
Just do that sort of slow jig, side to side, where their arms move and their feet not so much.
Yeah. I think weirdly, even though it's 1981, to me this one sounded really quintessentially 80s. I'm not saying it's a good song, but I think it has like an unmistakable sort of 80s sound. It had like that... do you know, like Vienna by Ultravox? It had that sort of heartbeat in the background, and then it had like that sort of pulsing, sort of Human League-esque synth, and like the vocals were a bit like early Madonna or Kylie Minogue or something. It was like a perfect. But I mean, it was worse than all of those things, but it was kind of like the top of all of those things.
But yeah, it's the homunculus of the great.
It also has that sort of like most 80s sort of songs where it's like stripped back, but it's also overly produced at the same time.
That's probably the best way I could describe. I think that might be a similar theme where they've got this song, and it's almost like someone, when the studio was closed at night, and someone broke in and opened up the recording, and like those pianos that we had at school with like the DJ buttons, and someone just started adding like or
Come
or
on.
something, just like very sort of very like Kraftwerk, sort of little synth numbers. That's what all of these sound like.
Yeah, I think it is definitely a theme that runs through most of these, isn't it?
How many Sheena Easton songs have been compared to Kraftwerk?
Maybe it's the first time.
I guess I just think of Kraftwerk as like the original synth men.
Maybe this predates Kraftwerk. Because like when I said all those things like Vienna and like Ultravox and Human League and Madonna, etc., this might be before all of them.
No, Kraftwerk started in 1970.
Oh, okay, they were going way earlier.
I think that's why they are considered like the first.
Would you like to know some facts about the song?
Oh, please.
Hit us with them.
So, as you can possibly imagine, Sheena Easton wasn't Bill Conti's first choice. He wanted someone who was a bit more Bond style, as he put it. He wanted someone like Donna Summer or Dusty Springfield, which may have added something to it.
Just Shirley Bassey again.
I'll get Shirley back, although she probably wouldn't do another one after Moonraker. So Easton, the reason why she ended up doing it is because she was recommended by United Artists, the studio. Conti was unimpressed by her debut album, which was called Take My Time. He agreed to work with her after meeting her in person. So what I really want to get onto is the opening titles of this one. So Sheena Easton is the only singer to date to be seen singing the theme song in the opening titles.
That's exactly what I wanted to know. That was the exact fact I was looking for.
There you go.
It's just weird. Like, why is she in there?
I couldn't really find out like why they decided to use it, only that she kind of had the look that they felt fit. And like Roger Moore actually said of her appearance that it was more sexy than any of the Bond girls.
It's just on the prowl, isn't it?
Yeah. One interesting fact is that they had to sellotape her to a chair so that she wouldn't move when they were zooming in on her lips during the title credits.
Like waterboarding her.
Well, yeah, basically, isn't it? Yeah. Get the sellotape.
But she's not the only one who features in a film, because I'm sure Madonna later does feature in Die Another Day, doesn't she?
Yeah.
But I couldn't think of any other.
Is Simon Le Bon running up the Eiffel Tower in View to a Kill?
Where's the music video? But actually, that's a good point you bring that up, Ben, because this was the first Bond song that had an official music video.
I was going to ask that.
MTV has arrived, and so Sheena Easton on your TV screens. So I think it became like a feature from now on. I think for this one, and possibly even the next one, there isn't much of a video. It's kind of like them singing in front of a wall with scenes from the film. It's not like the Duran Duran one. So yeah, this was the first one. So a couple of firsts in here, even though the song maybe isn't that memorable. Another thing to mention, as we've said already, Bill Conti was the one who wrote it, which means no John Barry. Do we know why?
Oh yeah, tax
reasons.
Tax evasion.
Yes, still tax reasons.
It was tax reasons
Yeah,
again.
it was, yeah. Probably continue.
Pay your
it.
taxes, John.
Yeah, because I was thinking like, oh well, that's a continuation, but it isn't, because he was the one who did Moonraker. So
It was the one before.
It was the one before.
That you had problems with.
But yeah, tax reasons was the stated reason. So he didn't get to go to Greece, unfortunately.
It was there.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe he got the instructions wrong when you say have your tax haven offshore. He went offshore. Just left all. Doesn't take his money with him. Just left it all, and he's gone abroad. Or maybe they just weren't glamorous enough. Maybe he's been everywhere in the world.
Yeah, I mean, Greece is pretty glamorous.
Yeah, but he's probably been by now.
Oh yeah, I mean, to be fair, he's a man of the world, isn't he? He's pretty much been everywhere.
Yeah. Once you've been to the moon in Moonraker,
Where else? Where could compare? I've only got one more fact about the song, and that is that it reached the top 10 in both the UK and the US, but it was a number 1 in the Netherlands.
Big fans of Big Sheena.
But well, the thing with Sheena Easton is that she was like a contemporary pop star, which is kind of an interesting choice, because I feel like for a lot of the songs we've covered so far, they've kind of not really gone down that route. I think maybe the only other example I could think of was Nancy Sinatra. So they were obviously trying to go for something, and I think actually that's reflected in a few of the 80s songs. They've sort of picked more contemporary acts, although when we go on to the next one, they kind of went away from that immediately afterwards. But then I think they do then go back to contemporary eyes. So yeah, that's For Your Eyes Only. I don't know if you guys have got anything else.
No, it's
a
miss.
You're not huge fans, I can tell, but it's stuck in my head. Unlike the song for Octopussy. So Octopussy, which might be the greatest name for a Bond film, I don't know. We can have a debate about that. So the film was 2 years later, 1983, so it was the 13th Bond film and Roger Moore's 6th. It was again directed by John Glenn. Yeah, so the synopsis for this one: there's a general stealing relics from the Soviets, and an Afghan prince who's invested in a plot to disarm the West. If they did try and go back to normality in the last one, I think maybe they've stretched out again here.
Normality.
Although maybe this does have some relevance nowadays. I don't know. But it sounded, when I saw the words Afghan Prince, I was kind of a bit like, yeah. The reality they kind of tried to touch on has clearly gone away. The song is All Time High, which was written by John Barry. He returns.
Yeah, back from his holiday, air quotes.
Lord of the Music has come back. And the lyrics are written by Tim Rice. So Tim Rice...
Oh, Tim Rice.
The Tim Rice.
I don't know, it depends. He is famous for writing
It must be.
Don't Cry For Me Argentina,
Yeah.
Can You Feel the Love Tonight, and A Whole New World from Aladdin. I was thinking, like, should I know Tim Rice? Is he someone else? But yeah, if that's who you're thinking of, is that Tim Rice?
Yeah.
The song was performed by Rita Coolidge. So, come on, guys, what are your opinions of this song?
I can imagine this being played at your caravan park when you were a kid, Alex. It's that dingy turn at the club. The lights are down. There's those 3-colour strobe lights sort of wailing around. Men propping up the bar after their swift halves of John Smith. This is what I imagine. Circling smoke from the cigars and cigarettes before the band, just rummaging around at the ceiling. This is what I think of when I hear this song.
It does have like a dirty feel, doesn't it? Like it's just a bit grim. If it does feel like a working men's club in the 1970s or something.
It does, yeah.
How about you, D?
With this one, I think the best way to describe it is to quote John Barry when speaking about the man with the golden gun and say, it never really comes together. Because it sort of feels like there are 3 separate tracks playing at the same time, but not in sync. So you've got like a saxophone, you've got vocals that don't match like the beat. It's a bit of a mess. And it also sounds like every single time Rita Coolidge goes for an all-time high, she hits an all-time bum note.
Oh, D.
Nice.
It's funny, actually, you mentioned about the song sounding like 3, because Tim Rice was still writing it as they were recording it, so it's a classic one. It seems like every time John Barry's involved, something falls off a cliff.
Because how often, I mean, you might tell us this, but how often do they get the first person they want?
Well, I didn't see anything about them trying to get someone else for this. I think they did struggle to get anybody, and they didn't really know who to go for. And it was actually Barbara Broccoli, who is part of the Broccoli production dynasty.
Yeah.
She was the one who pushed for Rita Coolidge. She was like quite a big fan, but people thought it was quite an odd choice because her peak of her career came up several years earlier. So whereas we were saying that Sheena Easton was contemporary, Rita Coolidge was kind of completely back the other way, which it said that Barbara Broccoli just kept playing records to her uncle, and eventually he was like, yeah, that's the sound I want.
The music video makes me laugh because it's very Bonnie Tyler. There's a lot of windswept. There's just a wind machine in the background with silk curtains blowing, and she looks off into the yonder at who I assume is Roger Moore holding onto a train or a plane or whatever he's doing in this film. It's the one where he's dressed as a clown, isn't it?
Yeah. I think there are a lot of aerobatics in this one, hence the all-time high. I think that's where they came up with the name. They struggled. I think
it doesn't look like he's enjoying himself on that all-time high, though, Roger Moore.
Which one was it where he was bouncing up and down on a trampoline? It wasn't Live and Let Die, was it? It was one of the other ones.
No, it's By Who Loved Me.
By Who Loved Me, yeah. And you were saying he was grimacing in that one, Ben. Well, he's a few years older in this one.
I suspect that they were reusing footage from that opening credits for this one.
Quite probably.
Because there's a few of the actions I'm like, that's exactly the same. It's too similar. Cutting corners and trying to make it a bit cheaper.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does feel cheap, doesn't it, this one? I think, like, what I love is, like, there's a line just before the opening credits where he, like, parks, I can't remember what he parks, like a small jet or something into a petrol station, and he says, like, fill her up, and then there's, like, this, like, really, like, lame sax note that just comes in, and it just hits perfectly. It's just so terrible. It sounds a bit like sitcom or, like, a daytime soap opera. Oh, God, I just think it really epitomises, like, the sort of campiness and cheesiness of the Roger Moore era films, this one. Echoing roughly what you said earlier, actually, the Washington Post, so you're in company there, said it was inane, with silly lyrics sung with lethargy. Would you concur with that?
I can't remember what the lyrics are to the song to critique that part.
There's an absolutely great line, which is just typical Barry, really. I know he didn't write the lyrics, but I can sense him in this line. I'm in so strong and so deep. That's just so Barry, isn't it? They tried to write a song about Octopussy, but obviously they struggled to fit that in. And I think they just came up with a few ideas, and they liked All Time High because it kind of worked with, like I've said, the aerobatics and aerodynamics in the film. One other interesting fact about this song is that number 75 in the UK charts is the lowest charting Bond theme.
The most memorable use of this song is in the movie Ted.
I don't remember that.
Mark Wahlberg gets on stage and sings this song terribly.
Is this in Ted 1?
He's trying to win back Mila Kunis' character and says, "This is from our favourite film, Octopussy," and he starts singing this song.
No, that doesn't really sound familiar now that you say. This is from our favourite film, Octopussy.
And somehow he still hits a better note than Rita Coolidge does.
Womp womp.
Okay, so moving on to my movie, which is... Well, I didn't make it, but... moving on to the one I've been given to look at, which is A View to a Kill.
That was amazing. That was amazing.
I hope that was picked up on the microphone. Let's see if it happens again. A View to a Kill. No. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so A View to the Kill was released in June 1985, and it's another one for John Glenn. Max Zorin, played by Christopher Walken. I've got here on my notes, hold for Ben's impression.
I've for years, I've wished I could do a Christopher Walken, but I have no idea. Wow.
The cow jumped over the moon.
Max Zorin is a menacing microchip manufacturer who has developed a scheme to exterminate all of his Silicon Valley competitors. James Bond is going to stop him.
Yeah, I like how you do this every time.
Which, to be honest, when I read that, that's quite ahead of its time.
Yeah, it's just except it's how he does it that isn't modern. I think this is the film that was famous for him having a running double to run across rooms.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's right. Well, he was 58, wasn't he, or something when he finished? And he wasn't. It's not like Daniel Craig where he's a fit 50-something. He was Roger Moore. I think he has the most amount of time laid on the bed.
He really does look his age in this one, doesn't he? I mean, I think this has to be with one of the worst Bond films.
It's one of the best worst ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the lowest on Rotten Tomatoes as well.
No surprises.
If I was a good host, I would have written down the percentage, but I didn't, so you just have to take a word for it. Originally, Max Zorin was not going to be played by Christopher Walken. It was actually officially announced that it was going to be David Bowie.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah. Although I do like that Christopher Walken is in a Bond, so I'd prefer David Bowie to have replaced someone else.
It's just funny that he went from being in Deer Hunter to being in this.
Yeah, is it a similar time? A bit later than Deer Hunter.
It's a bit. This is late. It's probably about 10 years later. This, but still, that's the image I have of him in my head, being in Best Picture, winning Deer Hunter, and then being in this.
If you want to know the reason why David Bowie gave up the role, is because he felt he was spending too much time watching his stunt double do something. So maybe he also had a running stunt double.
Yeah.
Oh, so he actually filmed scenes for it.
Literally, his quote was, "I didn't want to spend 5 months watching my stunt double fall off cliffs." The role was then offered to Sting, who also turned it down.
Well, why did they want a musician so bad?
Oh, actually, I wonder if David Bowie or Sting, the plan was, if we get them in the film, we can get them to do the song.
Oh, that would have made sense. Because I feel like Bowie should have done at least one. Or
he could have done it.
Yeah.
But then we wouldn't have got the great song that we do have.
Wait, yes.
Yeah, let's just move on to the song, because the film is not great. But however, the song is amazing.
Oh, yes.
So it was released a month earlier in May 1985 and was performed by the British New Wave act and a personal favourite of mine, Duran Duran. So, yeah, I think we all love this song.
It's great.
So, I want you to both just...
wax lyrical about it for 10 minutes.
Just go for it. Just have a audible orgasm on the microphone.
Roger would probably enjoy that, to be fair.
Yeah.
This song just really reminds me of my Crave Zen Micro MP3 player, because it only had about 20 songs on it at the time. And they were all sort of songs that one of our friends had sent us who was clearly really into 80s music at that time. It's like this and the Fine Young Cannibals. So yeah, every time I hear this song, it reminds me of that.
I think this might be the only song on my iPod that was from a Bond film. Maybe this and Chris Cornell.
When you put it on your iPod originally, but not the Chris Cornell one so much, because of when it came out in terms of our age, Did you know it was a Bond song when you put it on your iPod?
Yes, yeah. I mean, my dad was a big fan, and the name of the song, but the video as well is it's amazing.
Well, you're getting ahead of yourself there, Ben.
Oh, sorry,
You've got to go through the
sorry.
formation of the song first.
That's my favourite part, just that, like...
So this was the last song to be recorded by the classic lineup of Duran Duran for 20 years?
Really?
Until 2001, so that's...
So, it's kind of ever.
What year was this film, D? 84?
85.
85.
I think it's 2 years between every Bond in the 80s, which is quite cool.
I'll take your word for that.
Super cool.
81, 83, 85, 87, 89.
Nice. They've really got into a rhythm now, haven't they?
Yes.
I wish I'd have thought about this earlier before I mentioned the thing about David Bowie and Sting. But the history of why Duran Duran was picked for this song is pretty interesting and very John Barry.
Oh,
Great.
yes.
Okay, so Duran Duran were chosen to do the song after Duran Duran's bassist John Taylor drunkenly approached Cubby Broccoli at a party asking, "When are you going to get someone decent to do one of your theme songs?"
Was he talking about Rita Coolidge there?
Was she there? Was she right there? He was just pointing at her.
This one,
Well,
and Sheena.
Yeah, actually, it was Cubby Broccoli who was the dad of Barbara Broccoli, so he was the one who chose Rita Coolidge in the end to be the person to sing the song.
So, I mean, clearly it worked because Cubby Broccoli decided that he liked his moxie and sent him to our Lord and Saviour John Barry,
Heaven be thy Barry.
who decided, let's try it. So Duran Duran and John Barry all meet up.
Is this
Again,
why it was the
where
last
was
sort
this?
of final... John Barry started planting the seeds. It was him and Cubby Broccoli made this plan to get revenge for this comment to split up Duran Duran.
Or maybe he just took them on too wild a night out and they forgot they were in a band.
Yeah, I mean,
together.
that's more likely, straightforward.
Yeah, so they all met up, Duran Duran and John Barry, got insanely drunk, and, in their own words, composed absolutely nothing, but had a fantastic night.
Which was it? Rush from Russia with Love? Was that the original one where they was like, "Oh, we sent him to Turkey and we didn't have the idea."
Obviously, the following meetings must have gone better. I've got a quote here from Le Bon, Simon Le Bon, regarding working with John Barry.
My headphones are falling off. It's that bad.
What I enjoy about this quote as well from Simon Le Bon is that you really get the impression of what he thinks of John Barry. I can't do an impression of Simon Le Bon, sorry. I can do it in
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken. Do it. No. Do it in your Tom Jones impression.
Right, okay, so this is Simon Le Bon
That's Tom Jones.
as Tom Jones. He didn't really come up with any basic musical ideas. He heard what we came up with and put them in an order. That's it. That's the quote.
That's a good impression, though.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it really does sum up John Barry, doesn't it?
So according to Simon Le Bon, John Barry did nothing. They just wrote everything, and then John Barry just put it into an order and went, "There you go, that's the song." It seems so strange, like the formation of what is maybe one of the best Bond songs ever made is a bassist getting drunk and having a go at one of the producers, the band then meeting another producer and getting smashed, and then the band not liking the producer, and yet we've got A View to a Kill.
Rock and roll, baby.
So this is the only song in James Bond history to get number one in America.
Really? None
Yep.
of the recent ones. That's surprising.
The closest the recent ones have got was Skyfall, and that got to number 8. If one of these songs had to be number one in America, A View to a Kill is a good one to pick.
Oh, yeah. I'll go with that.
All time high. I mean,
Yeah, it was an all-time low in the charts as well.
It's not even true.
can we talk about the credits for this one? Because there are some
yeah.
enjoyable things in this. I think I've got Neon Paint written down, which is very 80s, I think. But also Woman Dancing Out of Fire, in time with the song, of course, with the famous lyric.
She does come out of the fire, but it's Dance Into the Fire.
Oh, it's Dance Into the Fire. That's true. But there is a scene just later where a woman is skiing in fire.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's also a woman made of ice that melts, which I liked.
A lot of elemental messages going on here.
A lot of creative flair. Yeah, well, a lot of things related to fire. I mean, is fire a key component of the film? I mean, obviously it isn't the song and the opening credits, but I don't remember.
Probably
anything else.
explodes a few people.
Well, I mean, based on the history of how the song was written, I don't think they were concentrating too hard on what was actually in the film, because I don't think Duran Duran would have seen it at that point. And John Barry clearly wasn't getting involved with any of the actual musical aspect of it.
Typical indeed.
This song was nominated for a Golden Globe.
Mm.
Best Original Song, but it did lose to Say You, Say Me by Lionel Richie.
Yeah, it's a good song as well.
It is a good song. So, we've got past the formation of the song. We've got past how well it did in the charts and how well it did at the award season. Let's talk about the music video.
Well, hey, yes. Brilliant. Who let them up? Who paid the admission fee?
The secret agents, Ben.
But you still got to pay the fee to get up.
They just sneaked past security.
Yeah.
They walked around the metal detectors.
Yeah, to be fair, in the 80s, yeah, there was just no security, was there?
Do you think they charged Duran Duran as well to go?
Yeah, but no, not just Duran Duran, the other guy. The guy that's clearly shifty as.
They probably were too scared to ask him.
Yeah, maybe. It's great. It's so 80s. A lot of popped collars.
A lot of podcasts, a lot of running.
Yeah, it must be knackered.
France.
Love France.
I mean, not
France
wrong.
is a very 80s country.
I mean, Simon Le Bon, yeah. It's not Simon the Bon.
I think the best part of this video is the really badly CGI'd camera that's sort of moving around the screen. It's so 80s. It's just perfect.
So 80s.
Everyone with Flock Seagull haircuts.
Yeah.
Perfect. It doesn't look like they even closed the Eiffel Tower that day. Like, they just turned up with cameras and all these people in a Duran Duran video and never know.
They probably just had to stop them with a rope or something, just wait 10 minits while we just make this music video.
They have to, and you can't even get to the top by climbing. You have to take the lift. The lift halfway.
I like the idea of them all being live together, Duran Duran and this man.
So that brings an end to part one of our look at the James Bond songs of the 1980s. We'll be back next time with the remaining movies, our best and worst, and possibly a top 5 from Ben.
Yes.
Goodbye for now, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
You eat anything? You eat anything and everything. We have many examples of this over 20 plus years. See, no denying it. Move on.
No. How out of date were those Easter eggs?
Oh, months. I think it was bonfire night.
Yeah.